Hey everyone, in this video I will be going over the statistical zone indicator for stocks specifically, looking at seasonal tendencies and looking at the 3-month zones for opportunities with investments, or just looking at the weekly zones for option trading as well. So I'm going to go into detail as to what I like to look for with this tool and look for opportunities. And so an example here would be easily PayPal, right? You tend to see a premium and discount zone, and I currently have it on the 3-month zones. So to turn that on, you simply go to the OHLC timeframe section, turn that off, and turn on the 3-month. Or you can just have extra zones and turn on other timeframes, right? But because I'm trying to show you a clean opportunity, I'm going to just show you the 3-month zone here. So what I like to look for is a stock that's in a discount relative to the statistical zone, and I like to make sure the seasonal tendencies are on page with it, are on par with it. And so here you can see going into, the rest of April and March, you tend to see a downward move. If you want to look at more historical opportunities, then you simply turn that on TradingView. You'll find it here. And you can see how for PayPal, going into the end of March and April, you tend to see a bit of a decline, but thereafter you see an incline. So what that tells me is that going into the rest of March, you tend to see a continuous downward move, but thereafter you tend to see a little bit of a pop. So what I like to do is, based off that information, I like to see what happened previously in previous years. And here you can see it's the same thing. Around July, you tend to see a little bit of a pop, and this was a bear market in 2022, but 2021, etc., you'll likely see the same scenario. A bit of a consolidation, decline, and then going into May, June, July, you see a push up there, right? So knowing that, I like to look for discount opportunities with this zone here. And so I might wait for a bullish opportunity. And this can be paired with any stock or ETF. I like to look at the seasonal tendencies along with the 3-month zones for investment purposes. Once you start going to like the 6-month and yearly zones here, the data starts to skew, especially when you have a stock that doesn't really have too many years backed by it. But the 6-month is something that I only look at when it comes to stocks that have like decades worth of data, right? Otherwise, I like to look at the 3-month or just the monthly zones. So here you can see on Costco, for example, a discount opportunity many times over. But again, I like to pair it with seasonality. So I'm expecting weakness, I'm expecting a discount, and that is the opportunity that I look for. Besides all that, what I like to do with this indicator is look at opportunities for option trading. So I like to look at the 1-month zones and the 1-week zones as well. Okay, so if I'm looking at the 1-month here, for example, I like to look at opportunities where right now I'm on ETH, extended trading hours. I'll just turn on regular trading hours here. I like to look up opportunities where it's in an extreme, and then I like to look for a trigger signal, right? For me personally, I like to use inversions and MBZs, which are based off the other videos on this channel. But here we can see on Bank of America, price pushed up, had a divergence with its ETF equivalent, and that's already built into the indicator. So right off the bat, I can see that's having some SMTs with its ETFs. SMTs simply means a divergence comparing it to a different symbol. So here you can see Bank of America did not take this high, but KBE did, XLF did, and again, there was another SMT here. So knowing that, I'm simply going to look for an inversion, an MBZ, and what I will do is plot on the indicator. And once that is plotted on, we can see how that formed previously, right? So again, I like to wait for extremes to be met, especially when I'm looking for option trades or swing trading with options. When it's in the middle of the zone, it tends to really just burn theta a lot. You don't really see much movement. But when it's in an extreme like this, you can see how it formed an MBZ, and then an inversion, continuation opportunity. It really gives me that extra boost knowing that this is an extreme. It's likely not going to continue, and if it does, I definitely don't want to be looking for longs. I'd rather wait for the next zone to appear. And so here you can see how there's a very possible short opportunity with that, right? Especially after you have every confirmation forming. It's a step-by-step process. I simply like to wait for a premium and or discount, and I like to wait for a reversal signature, like this one for example, and then a continuation opportunity, right? And here you can see you have the probabilities already stacked on top of each other. So for example, if Bank of America is all the way up here, and I'm looking for a short opportunity because it's in a premium, and there is a bearish opportunity with the MBZ model and or inversion, knowing the probabilities, there's an 80% chance of this level here throughout this month getting tapped. That's how strong of a probability it is. So I basically have a 20% chance of being wrong. And so when you play probabilities based off that, you can see how that got met. And thereafter, you have a 52% chance and a 28% chance of those levels down there being met. So you can see how very powerful it is, combining all of it. And so for me, I like to look at the probabilities meshed together. And so when those play out, it really gives me that strong opportunity. And here you can see it's in a continuous downtrend for the current moment. But again, when you're trading off these continuation opportunities, like these MBZs, for example, or these inversions, playing the probabilities and looking for clean, easy targets like this, for example, 76% chance, it's a really good opportunity. So this is one example on Bank of America. But for example, here's an example on coin. If we were to look at not even just the monthly zones, right? Like we can see there's a bullish opportunity, bearish opportunity thereafter. So you can see how there's a 76% chance of it reaching this level for the rest of March. I might start looking for bearish opportunities. That is what that is telling me. And it doesn't have to be on the 1 hour. I'd like to pair different time frames together. So I might look at the 4 hour, for example, and look for opportunities there. But when I am on the 1 hour, I don't simply just like to look at the monthly zones. I'd like to look at the weekly zones or the bi-weekly zones, for example. So for example, if we look at the weekly zones here, we can see how they're stacked on top of each other. And you have a lot more opportunities. Discount, premium, discount, premium. So if I turn on the bi-weekly, we'll find some opportunities on the 15-minute chart and the 1 hour charts here. Now, if you like to swing trade options, right? What I recommend doing is turning on electronic or extended trading hours for stocks. So I'm just going to turn this off briefly here. And what you will do is go here to extended trading hours. And now you have a little bit more price action based off the overnight hours, right? And you can look for opportunities there as well. These zones will simply adjust based off that. So here you can see how it goes into a discount, premium again, and it's in a really deep premium this time. So again, it's all the same really. Now, knowing the probabilities are on your side, it really is just scanning for stocks. This is what I like to do. I scan for stocks that are not really close to their inner levels here, for example, these deviation levels, because these are the higher probable levels to be met. These down here or these up here, sometimes they get met, as you can see here, for example, but the probabilities are lower. So if I'm looking at a different stock, for example, I like to scan the market and look for opportunities where the levels have not been met. So this is a really good example here on Snow. You can see that originally in the beginning of the month, it tapped the upper zone, but there's a 56% chance of being correct, of this level being tapped down there with extreme precision. Thereafter, it had SMT with the Qs here and the other ETF XLK. But my point is, because this level has not been met, I can easily look for an opportunity to short or buy puts or a different opportunity like a straddle, etc., looking at different levels and looking for that level to be met. And so when every single month begins or every week begins, this is exactly what I like to do. And sometimes you can find very quick option opportunities. So if you look at the weekly zones here, for example, you can go based off that, or even on the daily, right? Because now we have probabilities on our side. So if I'm looking at the weekly here, I like to look at, okay, for example, there's a 76% chance this level on snow gets met this week. Basically, there is a 24% chance of being incorrect. That's a pretty good chance of being correct. So all I have to do at that point is look for a bearish opportunity throughout the week. And when that pops up, I might swing a short or buy puts, etc., or sell calls down to that level. Okay, that's all that needs to be done. Now this again goes hand in hand with any ticker symbol or even futures as well, but this is an example or several examples on how I like to personally do it with stocks and options. Now, going down to a scalping perspective for stocks, you can see how precise these levels are, but going down to the scalping perspective, we're going to look at the daily chart. So if you don't want to constantly go to the settings and like switch time frame nonstop, what I recommend is turning on the auto setting. And there, you can just simply keep that on and it's going to automatically adjust. So if I go to the 5-minute time frame, for example, it's going to show me the 4-hour. Really great for scalping opportunities using the 4-hour for options. Or you can also just turn that off. And what I like to do is look at the daily chart or the daily ranges, for opportunities, right? And so if we look at Tesla here, just see how it played out. Went into a discount and that level never got met up there. I just want to point that out. It never tapped into it, and there was an 84% chance of tapping that level today. Basically a 16% chance of it not tapping that level. And you can see how there was a bullish opportunity on Tesla with this trend here, right? The entry criteria might be different for you. These are statistical zones with probabilities and data incorporated automatically with a clean opportunity. And so while I might enter the market using my personal entry model here, which is automated, you might enter using a different method, and that's totally okay and completely fine to do so. And so, for example, here on Tesla, I would like to look at opportunities with the current model that I use and the model that I've always used, right? MBZs with inversions. So here you can see the price entry technique going up to that key level. But you can use any technique, again, that you would like. The point of this video is to show you how to incorporate that with these probability levels to show you opportunities. So here we can see historical periods, right? I'm just going to quickly turn on the labels so we can check out how the probabilities played out previously based off these key levels here. So starting off with each range, you're going to have 6 main levels and 6 main probabilities. So here there's an 80% chance, 80% chance, 68% chance, etc., right? Now, again, these are probabilities. It's not going to be 100% certain, as that will never be the case. But either way, the opportunities are there. Now, when it comes to trading options on stocks, I like to give it a little bit of time either way. So, for example, I might be trading Tesla here, and I might be looking for an opportunity of a move up to this 76% level. However, I'm not going to buy options that expire that week. I might buy options that expire the next week, etc. And if I'm doing scalps on the Qs, for example, same thing. I might do longer dated expiry, or it's very rare when I do same day expiration. But these are the probabilities, and you can choose the opportunities, whether it's an investment opportunity, swing trading options on the higher time frame, or scalping options here on the lower time frame. This is an introduction into how I like to incorporate this indicator and tool into opportunities. And so in the future, I'll be going more in depth with more examples. I hope this brought insight into how to incorporate it correctly and what to look for.